Okay, it is 7 o'clock p.m. That is the appointed and advertised time for our April 15th, 2019 Aleppo legislative meeting. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Let's all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's take a roll call, please.
President Dober?
Present.
Vice President Jones?
Present.
Commissioner Duplaga?
Present.
Commissioner Dara?
Present.
Commissioner Williams? Solicitor Stone?
Here. Let's let the record reflect that we have a quorum present, please. Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you all for coming out tonight. I appreciate you taking time out of this beautiful evening to come here and be with us. Please be aware that this meeting, like most Aleppo legislative meetings, is being streamed live and it's being recorded. So that means a couple different things. The first thing that means is that people can be watching that are not present in this room from all over the place. So we don't have any way of knowing who's watching and who's not watching. But there may very well be people that are watching that aren't here. Number two, when this meeting is finished and we stop the stream, it's automatically posted to YouTube where it can be viewed by anybody at any time forever. So all that means, watch what you say because you can't take it back. So with that warning out of the way, I will entertain a motion to approve the April 8th, 2019 workshop meeting minutes.
I have a couple corrections. Just that page 3, one of the options was a hard, I think it's supposed to be curb. And then second to last paragraph, it says Swickley's, the sentence doesn't end. I think they mean Swickley's plans. I'm not sure. Just kind of ends. Page 3. Or Swickley's
yeah.
sewage treatment plans. It kind of drops off.
Yeah, I see that.
Okay.
I'll tell you.
That's it.
As amended, I so move. Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Are there any further discussions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Motion carries. Thank you. Let's turn along to our reports. Police. While he's making his way up here, let me just add that if anybody is going to speak, would you please speak from this podium over here? And the reason that's so important is because, once again, these meetings are being live streamed and recorded, and that microphone's the only thing that'll pick you up. So if you're talking from the audience, nobody will be able to hear you. With that, go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. This is reports for the month of March. As the chief always reports that the blotter is current and up to date on the website. For the month of March, we had a total of 109 calls, which, including those calls, are 42 medical calls and assistance to Masonic Village. We also issued 31 traffic citations, so 73 of those were between those two. Other than that, if there's any other questions or anything I can bring up? Right.
Anybody have any questions?
No.
All right. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
Good night. Fire.
No report.
Emergency management.
There's actually a few things going on. This is the year to redo our hazard mitigation as well as to readopt our EOP, both of which are under works. Our next meeting, which I believe you discussed at your workshop meeting, the next meeting with the county is the final meeting. And they're offering an update to the online version and tabletop drill, which I believe everyone except Michelle is compliant. So I checked the other day and all of our commissioners are compliant on their educational requirements. Their certificates are with the county. Michelle, I believe, is planning on attending that one at the next meeting, so we'll be 100% compliant. I did have corrected our attendance at those meetings, so we remain in compliance. The only issue with the hazard mitigation is I haven't met with Amazon. I'm going to need to meet with them just because they're a large player to find out what kind of materials they have over there, if they're shipping or storing batteries, what's there, etc. And I currently don't have contact information. I'm going to work on that this week. Masonic, I'm meeting with them in August. They've asked me to address their general population. And in July, I'm meeting with their safety committee to go over our emergency operations plan. And I'd like to find from Pete if they've completed theirs before that. I'd like to have that as part of ours. I'm hoping to be able to readopt ours by this summer, which will be a couple months early. It'll be a couple months in advance of when we're required to, but all of it's kind of underway. So I wanted to touch base with you guys and let you know what was going on anyway. Questions?
Did Masonic, regarding what happened during the windstorm, do you know what they're, what are they working on for that?
No, that's what I want to talk to Pete about, if they've
Okay.
changed their EOP at all, or if they've moved, you know, any of that stuff around or anything. I haven't talked to Eric or Pete since then.
Do you need anything from us?
Not at this moment. I'll present it all to you for adoption when it's ready to go. I'm hoping to be a couple months early in case we have to change anything, so.
Good job.
I should have it by
as
June or
always.
July.
Good job.
Thank you,
as
gentlemen.
always.
Thank you,
Judy.
Judy.
Thank you, Judy.
One quick question. Response to the special needs request for the website, is it?
They're coming in. They're coming in, yes.
All right, Public Works.
Well, as you can see from this brief report that we built a stand for the new salt spur anticipated when we get the new truck, which we went up there and they're hoping we should have it by June. We went up last Monday up to where they're making the bed for the truck, and it's fifth in line to go in to get the bed made. We went over all the final specs on the bed to make sure everything was what we wanted. So they're figuring we should have it sometime in June. So keep our fingers crossed. Then you can see we finished the free library outside finally. It's in the ground. And all the township roads on the sides, we blew all the leaves from the fall and winter, got all the sides of the roads cleaned off now for the upcoming summer. And then the station, since it's a continuous battle with the leaves blowing across the road into there, because the leaves sometimes are 4 feet thick going to the man door on the side of the station, so we have to haul the leaves out of there. And then went to Allegheny County gives a class every year about the ticks and rabid animals and everything. And we go to Ross Township municipal, and that's where they hold all the municipalities go there. And it's a all-day class, which you learn a lot. And every year we do go because they sponsor it. And we were there. And finally we were able to take the spreaders and plows off the trucks, put them away.
It snowed this morning.
That's okay. As long as we have snows like that, I wouldn't mind at all. I'd be happy.
Good.
Any questions?
Anybody, any questions?
No, thanks.
All right, Tom, thank you.
Tom.
Communications, if you can believe it, I have no report. Planning and zoning.
Well, the engineer's here for the application that you have on there for the William Eaton plan of lots. So
Okay.
he can give you,
All right, step right up.
My name's Troy from J.R. Gales and Associates. The William Eaton plan, we're just proposing a two-lot subdivision of a single lot. Half of one of the lots is in Aleppo, the other half is in Glen Osborne, and the one lot with the house is down in Glen Osborne. The lot fronts on Glen Mitchell Road, but there won't be any access off Glen Mitchell Road. Access will be through an easement off of Beaver Road, coming up through Watchword Partners. I have a plan here if you need to see it.
Yeah, could you put the,
Sure. This was originally one long lot all the way from Beaver Road to Mitchell Road. The owner is proposing proposing to subdivide it on the zoning, the current zoning line in Glen Osborne. The township line is right here. So this will be half in Glen Osborne, half in Aleppo, with access coming off through their other properties through it. For now, if they end up, they're not planning on building anything yet. They want to get it, they need to get a subdivision so they can, in the future, do a study to see if they can build any single families or some townhouses or something up here in the Glen Osborne portion. The main purpose of this one is to subdivide off this lot and sell it the house so they can recoup that mortgage money.
And this is what, nothing's on the web, but just a vacant lot, just.
Yeah, it's just all vacant up through Aleppo.
This is steep slope going down the Glen.
Yes, this is all guardrailed down here, so they won't have any access off. There's a stream with that main wall and storm in there.
Yeah.
So actually, this will come up to that portion that's in Glen Osborne. It's like an old, there used to be a house up in here. This was an old driveway. If he sells it off, ends up selling it off for just a single-family house, they'll put just a regular driveway. But after he does a feasibility study, then for the slopes and the soils and everything, if that all works out, they'll have to put in some kind of 50-foot right-of-way. But that's just a forethought right now.
And no plans for anything on this, so basically, just getting approvals, right?
Right, and then Glen Osborne, well, there's a soil study also included in there. This is just the Aleppo portion right now. We did the same thing for Glen Osborne. They're meeting on it tomorrow in the commission.
Gwen, is there a recommendation by the planning commission with respect to this application?
Yes, they recommended approval.
Do we have a more readily digestible version of this plan? We have that?
Do I have an electronic copy of that plan?
Yeah.
I do not.
I can send you one.
You can send it.
Great.
Move that we approve the William Eaton Plan lot subdivision plan.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? My question would be, is there any reason that we need to vote on this tonight? Is there any time sensitivity to this, that we can't delay it for a month?
It's, other than they want to get they're paying mortgage on that house right now, and he wants to get that lot sold off as soon as possible, so they can recoup that money for that, when they bought that entire piece.
Okay. And has Osborne approved this already?
Planning commission has councils tomorrow night.
I mean, I'd move that we defer it for a month and take it up at our next. I don't expect anybody to have any issue with it, but I don't know. So I would move that we defer it for a month.
My only concern on a deferral is let's make sure that we have to make a decision within 90 days of the original application. So we don't,
I don't know if I'll know that answer right this second.
otherwise you wind up with a deemed approval.
Do you know
We have
when-
an extension.
What's that?
We have an extension through May 20th.
You know?
May meeting.
When's your May meeting?
May 20th.
There you go. Sometimes things just work out.
All right, so there needs to be a second for the motion to defer for a month.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on a subsidiary motion to defer, so the motion is,
The original motion was to approve the William Eaton Plan lot subdivision plan.
May I just ask why the deferral?
we generally don't vote on things the night that they're proposed, so that we can give residents the opportunity to comment on them.
Okay.
So we send out the video of the meeting and we tell people, we're gonna vote on, we're gonna vote on this next month, let us know if you have any input. And again, I don't expect that we're gonna hear any input, but we like to let people have the opportunity if there's no real time pressing issue.
Okay.
Does everyone understand the proposed project? It's actually in Osborne, just a piece crosses into Aleppo. The piece is going to be vacant, it goes down a slope, and it goes right up against Glen Mitchell near the bottom of the road. But there's nothing being proposed on the Aleppo side, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so the motion on the table is to defer for 1 month. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. All right, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I guess we should let the record reflect that Commissioner Williams has joined the meeting during that last presentation. Here.
Aye.
Okay, next on planning and zoning is a motion to authorize the solicitor to draft an amendment to our fracking ordinance to include a seismic survey, injection well, and the use table default for unlisted uses using the Bell Acres ordinance for reference. At the workshop meeting last week, this motion was made by Vice President Jones and it was seconded. It was then deferred for 1 week to allow for resident participation. I have not received any response to that from folks at home. Is there anybody in the audience that wants to be heard on that particular issue? Okay, hearing none then, we're ready for a vote on that issue.
One question.
Yes, sir.
When was the Bell Acres ordinance written? How long has it been around?
The new one is
2019.
recent.
January of this year, I believe.
That's good enough.
And we use their preliminary documents for our preliminary
I
document.
thought we had, but I thought it would
Yep.
be smart to ask.
Okay, so then the motion is to authorize the solicitor to draft an amendment to our fracking ordinances to include the seismic survey, injection wells, and use table default for unlisted uses using the Bell Acres ordinance for reference. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. That motion carries. Thank you. All right. Tax collector, motion to refund the following real estate taxpayers. And they are, well, I'm sorry, is the tax collector not making a presentation today?
No, he's not, he's
Okay.
still recording.
Okay, so do you have a presentation, a report for the tax collector?
No, I didn't.
So then, the motion as printed on the agenda is a motion to refund the following real estate taxpayers. Louis Hassan and Shirley Bards Hassan at 111 Weber Road for $700 reduction in assessed value for 2018, refund of $2.40. And Giuseppe and Kristen DiRenzo at 510 Redgate Road for $91,300 reduction in assessed value for 2018, refund of $313.16.
Second.
So there's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. That motion carries. Thank you. I assume if there's no taxpayer, the tax collector report, there's no treasurer report.
Correct.
Finance. We have a motion to approve the March bill list in the amount of $25,865.20. To ratify the March prepaid bills in the amount of $15,375.04. And to ratify the March payroll transfers in the amount of $17,613.69. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
So motion, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Motion carries. Thank you. Aleppo Township Authority,
No report.
QV COG. Is there anything we need to say about the COG?
The reports are there,
It's
the reports in the packet.
Yeah, there's nothing, no report. Solicitor,
No report.
unfinished business, resolution authorizing the sale of vacant lot 422-G-351. We have anything to say on this tonight?
Yeah, I can give you an update. I think Chris mentioned it probably at your workshop, but the county has decided that they are ready to move forward. They offered and will acquire an appraisal of the property. And it'll be up to the school district and to us as the second and third taxing bodies to come up with what we believe is the appropriate procedure for the sale of the property. Under the code, we are required to utilize a public bidding or a private auction process, and the school district is as well. The conditions of sale differ slightly between the school code and the first-class township code, so we've got to come up with a procedure that satisfies both code requirements, which is no, I mean, we've already sort of put that process together, so that's no problem. Ultimately, the property will go to sale either through auction or bidding, and the successful bidder then will pay in the costs of the sale, including the appraisal, will get paid out of any sales proceeds, come off the top, and the balance will be split 3 ways between the county, the school district, and the township, assuming there is something above the costs. So at that point, we don't need a resolution now. We will need a resolution after the sale to authorize us and the other taxing bodies to convey our interest. But for right now, that's where it is. As soon as the appraisal comes back from the county, I think then we can work with the school district to get the sale procedure set up. I don't know if you have a preference between a public auction or a closed bid, but I mean, that's really the big decision.
Is there a price difference for either one?
No, it's same advertising.
So why wouldn't,
I mean, we probably would need somebody to conduct the sale, like an auctioneer or somebody to run the sale. That might be a cost.
Were we asked to contribute to the upfront expenses?
We're going to have to put up, anything other than the appraisal is between us and the school district.
Surveyor.
Advertising, mostly. I don't know what else would be involved other than the advertising as far as a cost of sale. But that's pretty much it, I think.
it would seem to me as if we would be, I mean, I guess I don't understand why you would not do a public auction. Why wouldn't you do it? Doesn't that seem like it's the obvious choice in terms of transparency and?
Yeah, I don't have a preference, to be honest with you. I think the only additional concern I have with running an auction is we need someone to run the sale, someone to actually do it.
Mhm.
Maybe the sheriff would lend us somebody.
Is it appropriate for us to pay upfront costs in proportion to what we are owed?
It's appropriate to cut whatever kind of deal we can cut with the school
Okay.
district, basically.
Because if they're gonna make $100 and we're gonna make 20,
I think that's all negotiable.
okay.
Okay, so we need to take no action tonight.
Exactly. And by the way, whichever way we decide to go, it will be publicly advertised. So there'll be plenty of notice to anybody who's interested in acquiring that property.
Okay, the next pre-printed motion on the agenda is a motion to authorize Manager Patterson to contact DEP regarding the tires.
I'm not familiar with this business.
Yeah, 690.
Is that Meaner?
Yes.
Yes.
Which pro, what's the,
Meaner Auto.
oh, okay, all right, sorry.
So,
Oh, yeah.
Infamous.
I mean, just to sum up the backstory here. We've had this ongoing dispute about, or property complaints. Let's start with that. We get complaints all the time about the Meaner property and cars that creep down the driveway. And we've, over the years, correct me if I'm wrong here, Glenn, because it's been longer than I've been around, but we've sent the police to go try to push those back, and historically, he's been responsive to that and has pushed the cars back, and then at the same time dealt with the tires that are on the property. And that cooperation seems to have stopped recently. And he's gone, we've asked him, the police have asked him to move the cars back, and that really hasn't happened. We don't really think that there's a avenue that we have in terms of a property code enforcement issue. But we've become concerned that there is a DEP issue up there with respect to the tires. And so the question is, do we contact DEP and let them know, recognizing that that could have a very negative effect on his business? And we just wanted to bring it to the board because we didn't want it to sound as if any of us were sitting behind closed doors conspiring against one of our residents. So we wanted to get board approval before we took this step of contacting DEP.
Okay. I support it.
Am I summing that up fairly, Gwen?
That sounded accurate.
Okay. So there's the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Is he aware of this possible contact?
I have not spoken to him.
I would think it would be wise for someone to do that.
I might give him notice that this will occur and give him 30 days to respond.
Okay. You want to
So we're changing the motion?
change the motion then? So motion.
A motion to authorize Manager Patterson to contact the owner of the property at 690 Glen Mitchell Road. The request for removal of cars and tires is not met within 30 days. We have no option but to notify the DEP or something like that.
Well, I guess the concern, well, okay, so the request is not met to move. Okay.
In other words, whatever we've asked him to do that he's not doing.
So legally, I think that that's probably not a good idea to
Yeah.
word it that way.
Yeah.
I think you ought to stick to the tires being an environmental problem and that you'll file a report with DEP unless the tire
Yeah,
situation is addressed.
Yeah, I agree.
And I would take that even a
Sounds
step
good.
further. I mean, first of all, I think I agree with Solicitor Stone that they're two separate issues, right? And I don't think you should try to use one as leverage against the other. I don't think that's the goal. I don't think that's anybody's goal. I think we've arrived at the conclusion that there's nothing we can do about the cars, and that that's not what we're pursuing. But I do think, and this is my concern, that if there is an environmental issue up there, and we now know about it, and we've now articulated it, that we have somewhat of an obligation to let the people that deal with that know about it.
I agree. I mean, I'm certainly willing to shrink it down to tires. I just think,
Doesn't this
Because-
fall under our housekeeping, kind of under our ordinance, that we could have code enforcement go up there and look at the tire issue and?
Well, the environmental tire issue is not an Aleppo issue. And Gwen, again, correct me if I'm wrong, please, but code enforcement has been there, correct?
That
And they are
doesn't fall under
telling us,
housekeeping if it's a mess? I mean, isn't there something in our ordinance?
Well, we have the International Property Maintenance Code, which does cover exterior items outside or surrounding a building. And, you know, we've used that before. It covers trash, rubbish, junk. It's similar to what we've been doing with the Sewickley lot in terms of enforcement. But I think if you're dealing specifically with the tires, I think it's probably, you'll get quicker action, and I think you'll get more out of your enforcement effort if you use DEP as a
Okay.
contact.
All right.
all All right, so you still want to give him the 30 days, though, to correct the tires before you?
I think it's because there could be a major impact on his business.
The request to remove tires within 30 days is not met. We have no option to contact DEP regarding the tires and the potential hazard. Right? Is that what you want?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so does everybody see the motion as it's amended? Any questions on that? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. That motion carries. Thank you. Okay, any other old business? New business. So, this is fun. The motion is to permit the placement of a geocache on Aleppo Township's property. As Tom told us during his Public Works presentation, we've recently put a little free library in the front of our building. When the Public Works crew built that little free library, they built a trap door into the back of it.
You're on camera.
I know that. I know that. That's the whole idea, right?
You're giving away the geocache.
So what we want to do is put a geocache in that trap door. Now, what is a geocache? So a geocache, they're boxes all over the place. These things are hidden all over the place. Yeah, she knows what it is. And you go online and you find a map of where these things are, and you go and you come look for them. Geocaching has a specific rule that says that if you're placing a geocache on government property, you have to have permission to get them, to place it there. So I wanted to come get formal permission, and I wanted to show you just a couple of what these geocaches are. So this is the one that we're going to put in the trap door in the little free library. It's got a beautiful little. It does. And inside, what there usually is there's a little log book that people come when they come to find it. They sign in on it, and they place it there. And then oftentimes there will be little tchotchkes in here. So we're going to fill this up with Aleppo Township stickers and pens and stuff. And the police department's going to give us some Ohio Township stickers and pens. And the fire department will give us some stuff. I thought it'd be interesting. That's the smallest geocache I've ever seen. It's magnetic, and so you hide them. They get hidden on street signs and all sorts of things. And if you unscrew this, the log is hidden inside here. So we're not doing that. So the idea here will be that this will be hidden in the little free library, and there's a lock on the little free library, and people will have to watch this meeting to get the combination to the lock. So if they go online and they find the geocache, they're going to get a link to this meeting, and they'll have to watch this meeting to find the combination for the lock. And once they've found the combination for the lock, they can come and they can find our geocache. So that's the motion. The motion is to permit the placement of a geocache on Aleppo Township property.
I second it.
There's a motion and a second. Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
So what is the combination?
What is the combination to the lock?
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you that at the very end. All right? So, is there...
Tell me what the reason for doing this is.
What the reason for geocaching is?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's to have fun. It's to get people outside.
And to get them to watch this
You know,
meeting.
When I say to my kids, let's go for a hike, they say no. When I say let's go for a geocache, they get very excited about it. There's geocaches in Osborne,
Swickley Heights Park.
Swickley Heights Park. So they're common. They're all over the place here. We have one. There's one in St. James Cemetery. So that's actually, I guess, not in Aleppo. There's one at the bottom of the hill here, but that's our only one in Aleppo. Two in Swickley
And
Cemetery.
teaches
They're all
people
over
to
the place.
navigate and use their compasses and use their GPS. and-
You find them by coordinates, yeah.
I mean, it's commonly been said that you're using billion-dollar satellite systems to find Tupperware in the woods. But,
That's right.
Yeah,
It's fun though.
it is fun. Okay, so there's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. The name of the geocache is The Motion Carries. So thank you, the motion carries. And the answer to your question, Vice President Jones, is that the combination for the lock is the year that Aleppo Township was founded, 1876. So hope everybody finds
Good.
it and enjoys it. Thank you all.
Good, that'd be fun.
Citizen participation. Nobody? Good evening.
Excuse me, I'm Helen Pagani Bataxis.
Would you pull that microphone down a little bit, please? Perfect, thank you.
Yes, I'm short.
Understood.
There were two things I just really had questions about, and I didn't know where to find them except to come to the meeting.
Welcome.
And I've become a snowbird. I retired 2 years ago, and so I miss out on maybe finding out a lot of information, come back and think, uh-oh. And when I was reading the minutes to the last meeting, and they were talking about the amendment to be added about the fracking ruling, I just wondered what actually is happening in the area. I had heard that there were plans to put in wells or a well or whatever in Bell Acres, and I didn't know what, I mean, I as a pediatrician, even though I'm not, have had patients who were affected by fracking, and I really want to know what's going on here.
I'm not sure that I have an answer, and if anybody else does, I.
Well, there's no plans for Aleppo. We're just updating our ordinance to make sure we're doing everything
I don't know
as best
about
as
Bell
possible
Acres.
for residents.
Oh, okay, because
Good point.
in the minutes, it said that the ordinance that we had was patterned after Bell Acres, and then I had heard, but it was hearsay, so I don't know, that there was gonna be some drilling or in Bell Acres, and I didn't know whether their ordinance was,
I know a
do
little
you
bit.
know? anything?
Tell us what you know, please.
Well, our ordinance, actually, I think our ordinance was patterned initially after Bell Acres. Also, I think Sewickley Hills has a very similar ordinance. What's happened recently, just I read in the paper that there was some movement or some interest in locating some wells, not necessarily in Bell Acres yet, but in that area, maybe still in Beaver.
Oh,
But the people in Bell Acres, the elected representatives there, were concerned about how close it was. I think it's around the big Sewickley Creek area. And so they acted proactively to update their ordinance to include exactly some of these same concerns or same protective measures that we're being asked to look at as far as the fracking process and the injection wells. What was the third one? But there were three specific things, and they all came as recommendations from a consultant who's been going around the county, basically reviewing municipal ordinances.
from Doug Shields.
Doug Shields, correct. Mr. Bannett. Not so much anymore. But anyway, so that's, and we've also decided that we want to look at updating our ordinance, even though our ordinance was patterned after theirs initially. And I know the lawyer who drafted that, it was for its time a strict ordinance in terms of what it required developers and drillers to do. And then we all went through a period when Act 13 was enacted where we were mandated to liberalize certain parts of our ordinance, which we did, and now we're trying to get back to the original ordinance and update it, and that would be the history. Does that help?
Well, it helps that none of us seem to know exactly what they're.
I know nothing more than what I read in the paper about what's going on in Bell Acres. or in the vicinity of
Yeah.
Bell Acres.
It
But there is
sounded-
another-
Where I heard it, it just sounded worse, like, you know, that it wasn't proposed, but that they were going to be doing something.
Well, they may be,
But,
but
I mean, I don't know. But it just, I'd like to feel that if their ordinance isn't working, that we're, get ours spiffed up better.
well, we're working on that.
No, okay. The second thing was that I just, again, I didn't know who to ask, so I just thought this was a place to find out. I've been always pretty good about recycling, and I know I heard about the no more glass being picked up. Where I've been snowbirding is in Florida, and there where I have a condo, we have a condo down there, and they don't pick up any of the recycle, but there's a place where you can take your things very close to where we live. And I just wondered whether, I saw, I don't know if it was in a paper or an announcement somewhere, where one of the townships or areas in Sewickley was having on a Saturday, you know, people could come and bring like glass things. But if you're not here for that one, I mean, I have a lot of wine bottles. I'd like to recycle. And I just wondered if there, at some point, if there would be a place where you could, I mean, I wouldn't mind down there if there was.
Funny that you should ask that. When would you hand her this flyer, please? That's a flyer to the Aleppo Township Earth Day event.
I know,
Which is-
actually, it's in the minutes from before
Yeah.
or something, and I would be coming to it, except exactly on that day, I will be starting my vacation in Greece.
Oh, boy, fun, good.
So, but I do pick up, when I walk in the, you know, almost every day except this morning. And I pick up plastic, everything.
Well, we're gonna have, during that presentation, we're gonna have somebody from Roadrunners Recycling, who's one of the big recycling outfits around, is gonna come in and they're gonna talk to us about the changes in the recycling industry that have led to the problems with glass. And they're gonna talk to us about what the story with glass is, why there's difficulty with curbside recycling. And I don't know that they're necessarily going to answer your question in terms of where we're going to go with that, because I don't think we know the answer to that. Right now, I can tell you that and without taking a 20-minute conversation and doing it twice, but those pop-up events that you've read about in the newspaper, which are being sponsored by PRC, they are the answer for now. I don't know that they're going to be the long-term answer. What I can tell you is that really, I think that the takeaway event from all of this is that single-stream recycling is not going to be a long-term solution. It's not going to continue to maintain viability. So whether we as local municipal officials try to figure out some other way to do curbside recycling of glass and aluminum, we don't know. That would probably be very expensive. Whether we try to have some sort of a Aleppo drop-off facility, which is sort of what you're discussing,
Yeah.
or we have some sort of a shared COG, Quaker Valley Council of Governments, drop-off facility. Those are all questions. You know, the problem with drop-off facilities is that you have really two choices. Either they're manned, in other words, you pay somebody to sit there and watch it, or they turn into garbage dumps because people don't respect the rules. And again, the point of recycling in 2019 is that you've got to have a clean stream of sorted materials for anybody to want it. So if you have a drop-off recycling center and it's not manned and people throw a whole bunch of junk in there or they don't separate the glass, and then nobody wants it.
Yeah.
So
Are we going to record the presentation?
I would hope so, but I haven't really nailed that down with Roadrunner yet, so I
Okay.
wouldn't want to announce that.
So we
I'd
might
like
try to
look
do
at
that,
it.
Helen.
Yeah.
On the same topic, I was in Green Tree the other day, and I made a wrong turn. I ended up going behind the Green Tree Fire Department. And they have a very large area with separate bins for everything, and it was very well done, and it was totally unmanned, and it was a weekend, so it was a Sunday, and it was clean and tidy.
Was it cameraed?
It must have been, but like, I was thinking that, but, you know, I thought maybe that might be some, you know, they might serve an example how they're doing
Yeah.
that so effectively, because it was what, really, they had one bin for just cans, it was like a wire mesh, and then they had one for glass with all the different colors, and they had, cardboard, and everything was really well, and they had a drive, it was like a circular drive, you went around in a circle and just pulled up whatever bin and took your stuff out, but it was unmanned, and it was clean, and there was no broken glass on the ground, there was no trash, so, that might
That's
be.
a full-time manned fire department.
Is it?
On-site dispatcher and cameras.
So you think the fire department's keeping it clean and keep running the
There's
recycling?
cameras in the building, and it's a full-time 15220 fire department.
Okay,
That's a manned building. It's not like Aleppo that they respond when everything's broken.
yeah. They're doing a nice job over there with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can certainly tell you that it's a topic that has started to come up with increasing frequency. And it's a topic that I hear people talking to me about. Somebody pulled me aside at the Edgeworth Club this morning and started asking me questions about it. I think that it's gonna lead us to real issues that we as a community need to wrestle with and need to decide about, because it's gonna end up costing money. If we want to do this correctly and we want to do it right, it's gonna cost money. And I don't know if we have the stomach to do that. I don't know. We'll have to work towards that.
Helen, do you get your wine online or at the state store?
I get it at the state store.
Ask them how interested they would be in taking your bottles back. It's the logical solution.
Well,
Take it back to where you bought it.
I will.
Empty.
I have one other question, which is not really the kind of thing to discuss here, but I just would like to know who to discuss with. Having, especially now, between traveling to Greece and wintering in Florida to make my husband happy, our bills for Aleppo, not the water, because that comes every 3 months and it's pretty easy to understand, but looking at our sewer bill is difficult. My husband came in and tried to talk to someone in the office here, I don't know to who, and thought he had things kind of either figured out or straightened out, and then it's confusing. I didn't look at it, I heard he was gonna come tonight, and I said, well, I'm going anyway, so, but,
Yeah, unfortunately, that's a question that needs to be directed to the Aleppo Township Authority, which is Nicole. I'm sure that's who your husband talked to.
probably, so it is someone here.
Yep.
Men here every day, so I can come tomorrow.
Yes, for sure.
And Gwen, we do have a document that defines the rate structure pretty clearly.
The presentation from
Yeah.
about a year and a half ago, it's on the authority website, I believe.
So on the authority website, Helen, there is a pretty clear explanation of what the charges are.
Okay, well, I understand, the charges, it's just when we're not here for 3 months and we're not using hardly any water and you get, well, anyway.
Understood.
Sit down with someone.
Well, yeah, Nicole can definitely help you with that.
Okay.
But just recognize that there's two elements to the charge. There's a capital element,
Well, I
capital
understand
element.
there's the, the debt service.
The
There's
debt service, there's two.
Two of those, and that's every month, no matter
Right.
what. But it's the other, they'll show that 1 month out of 3, when we didn't use water in any of the 3, really, there's like an $80 charge for 2 of the months, and 1 of the months is $56 total. That's including, and that's because they subtracted something or added. But it doesn't show, or at least, and maybe you go to the website to see if
Two of
there's
the months in a quarter is an
monthly
estimated.
charge, no matter what, beside the 2 debt service charges.
Two of the months in the quarter is
Mhm.
an estimated
Right, I know it's
usage
estimated,
charge.
but,
And then there's the third month that balances.
The third
Right,
month, the
but
third
this-
month is a reading, and they kind of deduct or subtract and correct it. So,
well, I figured they did, but believe me, it's confusing.
okay.
I'm not bad in math, and it's confusing.
I mean, if it's possible that you could have water usage, which is the basis for your sewer usage charge, you could have a leak in your water system.
We haven't found one.
Okay,
So I know that, if it would be big though, we really had a leak. And we cut off the water when we were, in the winter, we don't in the spring, but It's the winter one that I'm looking at.
Okay.
Well, speak to Nicole, and if we can help, let us know. We're happy to help.
Okay, appreciate it.
Okay, who's next?
Art Capuzzi, Weber Road. I'll save my questions for the workshop meeting. I just wanted to publicly first thank Michelle for the work she does with the traffic and speeding issue. I couldn't understand that thing at all that you were trying to explain last week, but I want to thank Gwen for forwarding me the site, and now I understand it, and I just wanted to thank them publicly for doing it.
Thanks, sir.
Anybody else? Yes, sir?
Tom Jarvie, 108 Leewood. What I'm bringing up about, I'm sure you've heard about the brush fire we had back on Leewood Avenue, which encroached into our property, which is very scary to us, with the neighbor beside us. And what we're hoping at this time that something can be done about this situation that's been going on for quite a long time with this particular neighbor over different issues. And I'm hoping now that the township can do something for us.
How's the fire starting?
He was burning brush,
Burning, he's burning it, okay.
and it was dry, and it come into our property. Thank goodness the fire department got it out. And it's a very scary situation. Last year, he cut trees down on our property. Nothing was done. Something's got to be done. And I'm hoping the township can move forward with something for us.
Well, I mean, I can tell you, Tom, that we have worked diligently to try to find some solution.
Well, I'm hoping now there is a solution, because now, like I said, thank goodness they were able to put fire out. If it would have went to my house, where would I have been? I wouldn't have had to.
Is there something that you think we should do that we are not doing?
I'm hoping that, I mean, we can go through channels, through the county, someone that can help the township do something about this situation. It's not getting any better.
I'm sure it's not, and I don't, listen, I'm not trying to minimize at all. I'm not trying to minimize the concern, and I definitely think that given the fire, that's new circumstances, that we can start all over again and go back to the channels we have. But I want to make sure that you're both aware, we have gone to the county. We've gone to the county on multiple occasions. I've personally gone to the county and talked to people. And the response that we get is that that there's not much we can do. Now, again, I think that the fire changes those circumstances, and I'm happy to start again. But, you know, I want to invite you to be a participant in this, because I'm telling you, and I hate this. This makes me crazy. It makes me crazy to say there's no answer. That makes me crazy. That is the antithesis of what I think efficient local government should be. But I'm telling you, you're coming to me and giving me your problem, and I'm telling you, Gwen and I have talked about this for hours and hours and hours and tried to work on it, and I've sent emails and emails, and I just don't have a good answer. So if you have something that you think we should do, other than just fix it.
I don't know, I mean,
yeah, I want to hear
okay,
it.
Gwen pictures, which she has of what burned in the brush fire. She has pictures, but she downloaded them off my phone and put in her computer. She has them on. Because, I mean, I was standing on my property when I took all these pictures of the brush fire. And it was into my property, which was very scary that day. I went running home, and the flames were coming in.
Yeah, I mean, you're aware, right, that we've taken him to magistrate's court, and we got him found guilty at magistrate's court.
Oh,
You're aware that we've sent him cease and desist notice.
last year we went to that one
Yep.
big thing, and it was.
I've personally gone to the property with the property inspector.
Yeah.
And again, I don't have a good solution for you. And if anybody does, I want to hear it.
I think we should start the process again.
Yeah, well, I'm
Go
fine.
back through the magistrate's court if we need to.
And he is, Gwen, correct me if I'm wrong, he's being cited for the fire?
That is what the police told me, yes.
Well, I appreciate anything at this point, because I mean, my back's against the wall.
If he has a repeated history of this, I don't see any reason to not go.
Oh, there's no reason not. I mean, the problem is that we take him to magistrate's court, he doesn't appear for the hearings, they find him guilty, and then what? I mean, it's not,
Starts over again.
it's just not, it's not a criminal issue, so,
If you got an injunction that prohibited him from doing various things, and he violated the injunction, then he could be held in contempt, go to jail.
if we got an injunction?
Well, I'm not sure we could get the
I don't think
injunction.
we could.
Tom would have to get the injunction.
And is this in a place that puts more than just Tom's house at risk? Could it be considered a public safety issue?
That's what I was thinking too.
Like, how many people would be at risk if
Right,
this
right.
fire
So-
went?
So Gwen and I have talked about this several times, and the answer is there are potential code violations, and it is also true that for a code violation,
Wait a minute, I'm sorry, I have to interrupt. Are there code violations or not?
Our building inspector has not said that there are code violations at the house. There's
Do you think there are code violations there?
condition,
I just know what I see,
Yeah,
and I've told Gwen, I find it hard to believe that there isn't a code violation.
I think the exact same thing, and I've said that as well.
Again, I haven't been in it, I've been on the property, I've seen it, and I can't believe that what's going on inside doesn't have either an electric, a plumbing, a structural. Just the way it's maintained suggests that there have to be violations inside. But I say that without ever having been in it.
Okay, so I mean, I agree that my gut, knowing nothing about property maintenance code, I'm not a code inspector, I don't even play one on TV. So I don't know that, but I see what you see, and it's hard for me to believe that. So we get back to the same conversation we've had for 2 years now in terms of our code inspector is going and saying there's no violation, and what do we do to get behind that? Do we get a different code enforcement officer? What do we do?
Is it fall under blight or anything like that?
Well, I mean, you've got, at a minimum, you've got a blight type of situation. I suggested to Gwen, and again, I don't know how far the commissioners want to go with it, but if you have, there are conditions on the property which would make it subject to a condemnation and having it declared uninhabitable as a safety matter for the inhabitant and for people in the neighborhood.
That's
which
what I was
goes
after,
to-
public safety.
But you have to find the violations, and
Didn't
someone
we try
has
that and
to.
the county inspector didn't agree with us?
No, it was Jeff. That was our township, and Gwen, please correct me if I'm speaking out of turn here, but it was our township code enforcement officer who's given us, I think in writing, right? An opinion saying that he does not believe there's any violation of the International Property Maintenance Code there.
the international, yes, that's the assessment. And the property maintenance code, the way he's explained it to me is people think that it means that you have to keep your property looking nice. And it is not that. It talks about the health, safety,
You have to keep it
welfare of the property, you know, for the occupant and for others. And while he has been in the house, and at the time he said it's not attractive inside, there's a lot going on inside, but structurally the house itself was sound.
Yeah, but it's more than structure though.
Yeah, it's not-
structure,
exactly.
it's utilities, it's
He was
the
in there
ability to
and-
maintain
It's
water and
electric, it's
electrical
electric,
and.
And he
It's
was in there
plumbing.
conducting an electrical inspection after the electricity had been removed and then re-inspected, and he was in there inspecting that connection was correct and safe.
Can we hire that other consultant that was a building, you know, the one we were talking about a year ago? Just bring a second opinion in and have someone else look at it. That would be my suggestion.
I think does the county do inspections?
Yes, but only for safety if your code inspector has a concern about public, it's always the bottom of the totem pole. So
Right.
if your code inspector said, I have concerns that there's safety violations here, the county would come in as a public safety inspector to look, to validate whether there were public safety concerns.
You could call the health department, and if you thought it was unsanitary, or you thought there were plumbing issues or things that would implicate environmental concerns, you could call the health department.
What happened?
We've done that too.
What happened with the sewer?
He never tied in.
He's not tied in. He's been, that was what we took him to magistrate's court for, because he's not tied in, and that was the only line that we saw to go after him. And so we cited him for that, for failure to tie into a sanitary sewer, and that was what he was found guilty of at the magistrate's court, and he didn't pay that fine, of course.
And he never tied it either.
He never tied it.
So is there a biological issue with unsanitary sewage?
Well, I
He's
think
using
he
the
hasn't.
existing septic system for the property.
Sorry, I'm trying to pick someone out here.
The other thing, just looking at it on the outside, the code talks about rodent infestation, things like that. I mean, I don't know, just looking at what's there, I don't know, but is it possible that there's a rodent infestation problem or something like that?
That would be reason to get an inspector out there from the county,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, I'm sitting at the keyboard waiting for somebody to make a motion.
Motion to contact the county Department of Health, is it Department of Health Department to do an inspection.
Thank you.
I would suggest that we have the county talk to our inspector and maybe give them some ammunition as to what they really would require.
I'd like just a fresh set of eyes, Art, honestly, just a fresh set of eyes.
If the county talks to your inspector and your inspector says he didn't find anything, the county will shut it
Yeah,
down.
we're
I mean,
dead.
do you agree, Harlan? They'll shut it down.
The county's not looking for projects.
Right, it's the least, it's always the lowest common.
It's NIMS, right?
denominator.
It's NIMS.
Yes, it's NIMS, it's the lowest common
Judy,
denominator.
do you think
So-
the fire in and of itself would cause an inspection for safety?
No, not if it only threatened one property.
No, do we have a, what's our ordinance say about open burning
That he's gonna be cited by the police,
for that?
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
But that's gonna be a one and done thing,
There has to be
right?
a clear and present
Yeah.
danger to safety. And if you can go to the county, and that actually, I mean, I can't make a recommendation, but I've done this in multiple properties in other places before. That would be my recommendation, because the county doesn't mess, they're not worried about making people angry, they just come out and do it. But the first thing they're gonna do is ask, has there been a local inspection of the property? And as soon as somebody says, we'll talk to our inspector, and he says, I didn't find anything,
Well, he's not tied into sewer, so there's an issue there, that's one
yeah, but
thing.
he's using a working septic system.
Well, how do we know it's working?
But I agree, if Harlan's telling me that he sees those things, I know my eyes would see 20 more things, and a health inspector would probably see 25.
How, anybody
Yeah.
know how old the septic is?
Because the county knows ways,
I mean,
what they
septic's
need to see,
They have-
and I mean, road.
20, 30 years.
Okay, wait, we have lots of conversations
Yeah.
going on. What'd you wanna say?
I was answering Art, we have no idea of how
Yeah.
old a septic is.
Septic systems have useful life,
Yeah, like 30 years, right?
25 to 30 years.
Yeah.
And that's it. I mean, it's not going to work efficiently anymore.
Yeah, and it would need pumped out,
Yeah.
so.
Okay, so the motion that we have articulated so far is motion to contact the county health department to do an inspection. Is that what we wanna do, or is that what we wanna do? I'm sitting here waiting. That needs a second if that's how we're gonna go.
Second?
Okay, so there's a motion and a second. I mean, I'll volunteer the discussion. I'm concerned that if this is our avenue, I mean, I guess it doesn't hurt as a first step, but I'm concerned that we're just gonna be right back here in a month with them
I'm
saying,
just gonna put one concern out there, Matt. If you do this without having your ducks in a row, you're gonna get one county inspection. You know what I mean? If you don't have in mind what they're looking for and what you want out of that inspection, I would wait to make the call, because if he comes out and he's looking for one thing, he doesn't see it, he talks to your ordinance guy and they say, we don't see anything, he's gonna check the check boxes, he's gonna go back to his office. And then you're gonna say, well, let's approach this a different way. You know, maybe we can do it from the rodent side, or maybe we can do it from the, and they're not gonna keep coming back. So I would just make sure that you have your ducks in a row, what your concerns are, because they're gonna ask you what your specific health and safety concerns at the property are.
That's what I was inferring before.
It's the first question on the form.
That's what I was inferring before, that we should have our inspector talk to someone in the county and find out exactly what the hot buttons are at the county, so he can look specifically for that.
I'm gonna make a suggestion that I have some ideas, but I'd like to air that in executive session.
Okay.
And since this may involve some liabilities and some legal issues, I'd like to cover those in an executive session with you.
Good idea.
I'm all right with that. You all right with that?
Okay?
Okay. Again, I don't want to minimize this. I don't want you to think that we're not working on it and that we don't want to help you. We want to help you. And we appreciate the concern that you have. I personally appreciate, if I was living next to him, I would be equally upset. And I don't want you to think that this has been not addressed. I'm so glad you guys came here tonight so that I can tell you, we have been working our tails off, and the fact that we don't have a solution, frankly, just upsets me. So I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad we're talking about it, and we will continue to try to find an answer for you. Okay? Anybody else? Yes.
I'm Laura Yost, 461 Weber Road, and I'm representing a bunch of us on that strip, and we were just wondering if there's any updates for the development of the land behind us there.
None. We haven't had anything submitted, so as far as we know, there's nothing going on at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that's the sale we're talking about, right? I mean, that's the,
We're selling, the land is being auctioned, yeah, but there's no project.
Right, and how are we gonna advertise that, do you know?
Yeah, it's in the code. I think we're required to run an ad in a newspaper of general circulation in the municipality, and I think we've got to run it, I think the code says we have to run it twice maybe, it may be just once, but it's in the first-class township code, and whatever it requires by way of public advertising, we'll make sure we get the notice out.
Okay, thank you. And I'll say that the Herald is no longer a site that we can use for legal advertising because it's not a paid paper anymore. So we advertise in the Allegheny/Beaver County Times. So that's where we do it. They publish them in the paper, and they're on the website, on their website as well. Okay.
but I presume it's gonna also, we're gonna have to take action to do that, right? It's
Yeah.
not gonna happen quietly, so
Right.
it'll hit the digest as well.
Okay,
So you get our emails,
yes.
then you'll see it there as
Okay.
well.
Hi there, I'm Julia Tebbets, also 461 River Road. And related, I just had a question. I noticed in minutes from the beginning of the year, the intention to develop for Aleppo Township a statement regarding development. And I was wondering if we could have an update as far as how's that coming along? I'm very interested.
Sure. We had a meeting on Monday night, was it Monday night?
No, Thursday.
Thursday night, Thursday of last week, where this board met with the planning commission, and unfortunately I had a medical emergency, so I couldn't be there. So I'll let somebody else tell you what happened.
We developed, we all got together and we discussed a vision statement for the township, realizing that we will have future growth at some point, or at least pressure for future growth, and how we wanted to maintain our township. And basically the statement, the vision statement was that we would like to, accommodate growth while maintaining the character of the township. So with that, it's a very broad statement, and that plan is soon to be finished. After that, we may have some updates to our zoning code. So, but it's all open for discussion, so if you have any ideas, you can come forward at some point.
And I'm sorry, just to correct them, my understanding is that the actual language is being developed from somebody, and we're gonna get that later.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's just a comprehensive plan, which is conjunction with Sewickley and Aleppo. It's not anything definite. It's basically a vision statement with some ideas on what we see for the future of our township, as well as Sewickley and Osborne, because they're part of that plan.
We also asked the engineer in a very general way for him to consider things that are going on just outside of our territory, so to speak, and give us a heads up as to what's going on out there, what we should do about it, and should it be a part of the comprehensive plan. But that's just a general guideline for them.
Okay. Anybody else? Once, twice? Anything else for the good of the township? All right, we are going into an executive session. We will not necessarily adjourn this meeting, because when we come out of the executive session, there may be business to take care of that we brought up during the executive session. But for the purposes of the recording, we'll stop this now, and we won't come back on the record. We won't come back on the recording after the executive session. So y'all are welcome to stick around if you want to wait and see if there's anything after the executive session, or you're welcome to go home. Thank you for coming tonight. Appreciate it.